Can you guys hear me?
I can, Trish.
Oh, cool. Yay. So is it just us three?
Oh, you guys are in a lot of trouble. Over there. That way, you guys 30 minutes so to give and leave. That's exactly how I know.
Okay.
Hi, Steve.
She will.
Mike on.
I ain't Mike, I don't.
Hmm?
It is on.
Are we ready to call to order?
You do the gavel. Since you're
Actually-
closer.
I can do the gavel.
Got it? All right. So I'd like to call to order the June 26, 2025 meeting of the Shade Tree Commission. If we could have a roll call, please.
Roll call, somebody.
Does Andy do that?
I don't know.
Hang on, Trish, we're getting there.
Miss Adams,
Here.
Mr. Vanicola,
Here.
Ms. Wagner,
Here,
Mr. Flynn, Mr. Hodgepop.
All right, thank you. If we could pause for a moment of silence and then stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, if we could stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. All right, so let's consider approving the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or edits to the current agenda or tonight's agenda? Hearing none, then I'd like to make a motion to consider approving the agenda. If I could have a second.
second,
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, do we have anyone from the public? And if so, is there any comments, public comments on the agenda? Anybody there? All right. Okay, assuming not, okay, so then we will move on then to the minutes. And we have postponed making a motion on that to next meeting.
There was no May meeting, so there was no May minutes.
Oh, well, that makes perfect sense now, doesn't it? I forgot about that.
Would.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. All right then. Reports. All right, we have a staff update. I guess would that be you, Andy?
Wait a minute,
Do you want to, do you
Steve
want to
has
mic,
something to
Steve?
say.
Oh, I can't hear him.
You will.
So just for the record, since that's the case, we want to change on this agenda for it to say that there was no meeting, so that it's
Correct.
clear as to the reason why we don't have minutes. And so we'll just want to make that change clearly.
Thanks, Steve. All right, who's giving the report then? The staff update on the comprehensive and strategic plans.
That's also Mr. Neese.
I'm back at the podium. So real quick, I just wanted to give you an update. So the township is required by state code to update its comprehensive plan every 10 years. Believe it or not, it was 2016 when we passed our last comp plan, and we're already ready to update. In addition to that, we did a strategic plan in 19, good golly, in 2020. And that strategic plan was for 4 to 5 years. And so it also has outlived its life. And so we're in the process of updating both. What I asked for the board to do was to put both of them together to start at the same time, with the idea that we would do the comp plan for 10 years, do a strategic plan for the first 4. When we enter year 4, we will do an update to that strategic plan using the current comp plan for 3 more years. When we enter that 3rd year, we'll do one to take it to the final, so that we'll always have a strategic plan lining up with our comp plan over the next 10 years, starting in 2026. Well, we'll adopt it in the fall of 2026 and really carry us through for 27 and following. So I share that just to kind of let you know where we are. The board has selected 7 members from the community to be on the comp plan steering committee, and another 7 to be on the steering plan committee. And they met together Tuesday night and had the first overview. There will be a public meeting for everyone to attend on September the 3rd. It's a Wednesday. So that's coming up. So I hope people will start marking their calendars. There'll be some surveys that go out and some other things. So lots of opportunity. In addition to that, there will be some focus groups that are designed to get to people, who are on committees and things like that. So if you're asked to attend a focus group, I hope that you will make yourself available to do that. I hope you'll make yourself available to be a part of the public meetings and make public comment in the process. It is the plan that sets the direction that we're headed for the next 10 years. I believe these comp plans have the potential to really determine where we're going to be 20 years from now. And so if you want to, how you want to see the township 20 years from now, that's the purpose to me, because it's the opportunity to say where we should make changes to zoning, where we should make changes to our land development, where we should make changes to where we put emphasis for public safety, for all of those kind of things. It's a part of everything. So we're trying to broaden what just is in the comp plan, and that's why we're doing the strategic plan at the same time. It's a very important time for us planning. And to be honest, if we do it right, it should drive all our budget decisions for the next 10 years. So that's why it's so important. So I hope people will participate, and we're making sure that every committee knows what we're doing, and that's the process. Do you have any questions?
I do, Steve.
Yep.
So how were the members selected?
How were the members selected? Well, I don't know that I can answer that question, because they were selected by the board of supervisors. I think the idea was they took some folks from the business sector. They took some folks from several of our committees. Particularly, I think there's a definite representation from the EAC on both the strategic plan and the comp plan, as kind of a broad representation for environmental types of concerns. And then from that, I really did, I think like they picked somebody from recreation who was interested in those kind of things. But how they selected, who they selected, I'm not 100% sure, because I left that to the board of supervisors.
Yeah, I was just more wondering if it was a good cross section of the
I-
community, or was it just kind of limited to special groups?
I felt like they tried to look at a cross-section. I think like on the comp plan side, there are two members from the planning commission, which is normal, because normally the planning commission is a driving force. On the addition on the comp plan side was a member from the EAC, a member from the, I think that he was on there with the rec, and then I think it was two board members, two board supervisors. And then for the strategic plan, it was, again, another member of the EAC. I forget the connection to the one member who came in. I think it was the Business Association. And then there was, I forget the other two exact connections. One was EAC and one was something else. But, and then again, two more board members on there.
And so there's going to be only one public meeting, or is there
There'll be multiple public meetings, and that will go out to the that will get publicized here shortly for everybody, but the first one is September 3rd.
Okay. And will there be other days other than Wednesdays by chance?
That I don't know. I think one of the challenges that we have is the availability of the room. Because we had meetings on Thursdays, multiple, I mean, 3 Thursdays a month are all filled based on our meetings. And we have 5 o'clock or 5:30 like this meeting and we have another meeting starting at 7 for all Thursday nights. All Mondays are taken up because of board of supervisors meetings and municipal authority meetings. And so I think there may be one or two Tuesdays, and the other one seems to be Wednesday.
I would think if we're really trying to get a good representation and participation by the public, I think we need to make it maybe on a weekend. Just so that people can attend, or a Friday or something along those lines. At least that's been my experience, is that you have to be, because people work and may not be able to show up even if they want to.
Yeah. I will only say that I know some of the times when we've done weekend things, they're not overly well attended. So I think that's the reason. But I will take that concern back and let people know that concern.
Okay, thanks. Or at least, it's like, I know, I mean, just my schedule just wouldn't allow me to participate on a Wednesday.
Okay.
So, and there may be other people that are in similar situations as me. So maybe a Friday or something that's, because I know our meeting days are pretty packed.
Yeah.
And I hate to.
Let me have a conversation with the board and also with the consultant.
Okay. All right. And then just one more question is, like, how will the public comments be collected, vetted, prioritized, and considered? And who makes this final decision on what comments to include and not? I guess that's more than one question. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would say that I think if I can answer it, I'll try to answer all of them in one answer, but we'll see. If I don't, you can feel free to shoot me again. So, so my understanding is the consultant will take into account comments that are made. Obviously, comments that are made more than once will rise to a different level than comments that are only made once, right? And so that the consultants are usually really good at that. They usually pull the data in and talk about percentage of people that responded to, like when we do the survey, what's the percentage and how did they respond? What comments were done? A lot of times that you'll see in comp plans, there's usually a section in the back of the comp plan that actually shows, the variety of comments that were made, even if they were one-off comments in that way. I don't guarantee every comment makes it into the comp plan, because if you have 1,000 different comments, you may not be able to figure out how to put all that in and make it work. But what typically has happened in the past, when I was here for the first comp plan, or not the first comp plan, but the last comp plan that we had, and also for the strategic plan, what we tried to do in both of those was make sure that every type of comment was represented, even if every exact comment was not. And so, for example, I'll just give you an example. A lot of times people will make specific comments related to traffic on a specific street. And so I'm concerned about traffic, and I'm going to pick on Hunter's Run because I live in Hunter's Run and it's not a public street, so I know we'll never worry about it from the township side. But if we say on Hunter's Run that I'm concerned about traffic, and we get somebody else who says something about another street, and somebody else that says something about another street, and they're neighborhood streets, we will probably take and make the comment as a general concerned about traffic on neighborhood streets, if that makes sense. But not every specific comment then gets represented.
Sure. Is the format going to be like a charrette kind of thing, or is it just everybody kind of there in the room and get up to the podium and say their piece?
My guess will be that I suspect the way they will do it, and I've not worked with this particular consulting group on this particular topic of being the comp plan, but they will probably have around the room stations that people can go to and give input related to. There'll probably be a map that shows natural resources in the township. Go to that map, make your comments on that map. It may be like putting Post-its on. It may be like writing right on the map. I'm not 100% sure how they'll do it. But my guess is it'll be something like that. And then what they indicated last night, or not last night, Tuesday night, when we met with the steering committees, that their intent was to have a kind of an open forum for people to share. And it may be one of those things where people just kind of holler out different things, and they just write it on a piece of paper and stick it on a board.
Yep.
So that's typically how those things are.
All right. Thank you. All
Okay.
right.
Any other questions from anybody else? Please go sit down. Is that what I see? All right.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. Okay, so moving on, Lan, and sorry for all the comments. I was just really curious. Anyway, so staff report or I'm sorry, land development review. The Village of Four Seasons. So is that Andy or John? Are you guys talking about that?
The applicant's here to give a overview.
Can you turn on your mic?
The applicant is actually present to give an overview of the project.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Can you turn on your mic?
Sorry, I saw the light and didn't realize it was different colors. I'm Neil Kamens with Chester Valley Engineers. I'm here with Nicole Robinson, who is on behalf of the applicant. The Village of Four Seasons is, can I ask you to put up that colored plan? It's the last link in the thing. I don't know if you can hear me. The last one at the bottom that says color plan and today's date.
And can whoever is running the Zoom, can you make sure that I can see it, please?
So we have actually been working on this project for literally decades. We had applications before the township, I think in 2016 and 2017. We came in with a 2-lot subdivision about a year ago that proposed no development. It was just really a lot line change that created this 21-ish or so acre parcel. It's on Gradyville Road, just west of 252. just north of the reservoir. So Gradyville's at the top of the page. 252 is actually just on that corner to the lower right. The bottom line of this, so the bottom of the colored area, is actually the township line with Marple Township. And the same developers have an existing subdivision there that they are close to building the last few houses in. So originally, the idea that we had these holistic plans that joined both the work in both townships, but because they have different zoning, different rules, for various reasons, the project in Marple moved forward and we really didn't have anything here. We'd been working on plans that took into account a much larger area. And then we did that lot line change to create this 21-acre parcel. We submitted a conditional use application to the township in October. And then we've had a lot of dialogue with the township staff and consultants to take into account comments that were received from them. And we've revised the plan somewhat so that originally we had a through street from Gradyville into Marple Township. So at the very bottom on that diagonal line where the color ends, we had a through street. This plan has changed. We kind of changed the geometry and we end the project with a cul-de-sac kind of in the middle of the green area and then a emergency access connection to Marple Township. We did that and most of the other changes to minimize the amount of steep slope, wetlands, riparian buffer, and tree disturbance. There's still some of all those things. Our conditional use is primarily for the steep slopes. That's the thing that we need conditional use for. But we are crossing, there is a creek just about halfway between the cul-de-sac and the township line at the bottom. A couple inches up on the plan. There's a much larger creek just off this to the left. And originally we had a street kind of in the middle of this green area, the parcel at the top. And then we're impacting some wetlands and riparian buffer there as well. We are clearing about 12 acres of trees. So a little more than half of the 21 acres. The property consists of what are like 2 existing lots with houses. So you can see to the right of us, these long narrow lots. That's what actually makes up the upper right portion of this project. And then after that, the property is undeveloped currently. The green, they're different greens, but I think the easiest thing to do is kind of see you can see the tree line that starts on the right, the little arrowhead comes up the middle, and then off the left above that cul-de-sac. That's the existing tree line. So some of the upper right portion with the lots is mostly open. The rest is wooded. So unfortunately, to develop a wooded parcel, you have no choice but to take down some trees. Kind of the only way to do it. Otherwise, we'd be basically just saying there's 2 lots. We can redevelop and build a house where the existing lots are. We've talked to the township arborist a bunch. The client engaged a forester, Mike Lamanna. He went out and looked at all the significant sized trees on the site. Unfortunately, a lot of the trees in the woods are not in very good condition. So most of the trees Mike identified are either dead, hazardous, poor, or fair condition. He identified about 3 good condition trees. And in talking mostly with John, we've kind of come up with a woodland management plan, and the idea, we created some open space parcels. The zoning does not require us to have open space. We did that just because we wanted to. The parcels do contain large areas of riparian buffer, wetlands, but also large areas of woods, and obviously the open space, those areas are not being disturbed. Working with John and Michael Mana, the client's forester, we developed a woodland management plan. So instead of just saying, hey, we're going to cut down trees, we'll plant new trees, we came through and we have a plan where we are going to remove invasives. We are going to do some selective minor canopy trimming, And then we're gonna plant thousands of tree whips in those areas so that we can keep the woods that we're maintaining to be a healthy woodland, rather than just say, hey, we're gonna numerically replace a tree. So the open space parcels are the upper left and then kind of the middle center of the project. And that's, in a nutshell, what we're doing. We prepared a woodland management plan in the sense of a narrative. We have a landscape plan. The trees you see individually are street trees along the streets. The green ones are shade trees. The magenta colored ones are ornamental trees. We also have street trees along Gradyville. The trees stop because we run into that wooded area that's not being disturbed with riparian buffer and such. So that is our idea, that we're trying to make it so that we have some areas that are preserved, that the HOA will be responsible for maintenance, that we have a plan that the township's gotten to review. We are right now at the beginning stages of our approvals with the township. So we have a conditional use application and a preliminary subdivision and land development application. As that stuff gets finalized, we will end up, when we get the final plan, hopefully having the management plan there will be part of the recorded documents. So the property, those areas will be open space. Our vision is they'll be owned by the HOA. If the township had an interest in them, we would probably entertain that. The ordinance says that the township may, but doesn't have to take ownership of open space. And we do that. There's also areas on individual lots that'll remain wooded. There's a lot of areas of steep slopes on the property. So especially those areas that are steep, that have wetlands and riparian buffers that can't be disturbed for other reasons, those are remaining wooded as well. That's kind of what we're doing. John suggested we come and see you guys just to tell you what's going on, get your thoughts on our plan. And, we've got lengthy letters that we're working through from the township staff and consultants. And if you guys have some comments, we have a letter from John that has some suggestions, even though we've already talked to him a bunch and incorporated things from his review in October. But if there are, feedback from the commission here, we'd be happy to hear what it is and answer any questions and see how that works in with the rest of the things we have to try to do for the zoning requirements, the township engineer's technical comments, and whatever the planning commission has to say later tonight.
I have a question, but I'll let Carol and Rob go first. I can't see if they have any questions.
Go ahead, Trish.
Okay. So thank you very much for the presentation. I'm really glad you came in and walked us through. This is really super helpful. I really do appreciate all the open space that's being preserved on the property. I was just wondering if there was going to be some sort of plan to try to retain as many of the trees on the existing lots. Obviously I understand you have to take some down to build, of course, but will there be an emphasis to try to preserve any of the trees that are within the buildings, within the undeveloped portions of the lot?
So there are, if you look at this plan, I'll say like the brighter green is the woodlands that either will remain or that we're planting on the lot. So if you start at the top of the plan, there's a triangle just
Yep.
to that entry road. That's actually
Yep.
an area that we're replanting, that bright green.
Mhm.
Part of the lot in the top middle is to be preserved, and it's a lot of it's in riparian buffer. The lots on the left, there are a couple there where there's not much preserved area, just based on what was there now and the grading we needed to do in the utilities. As you work down to the lower left, there's some on the left, there's a very large piece on what we've got labeled lot 12 at the bottom.
Mhm.
A lot of that is in steep slopes. and riparian areas. The open space in the middle is a rectangle, and there's areas kind of branched off of that onto all the adjacent lots where we're proposing to leave the trees. And then as we go out to the right and towards 252, and we get into that point, that's a combination of preserved trees and some that we're planting. Our experience is that it's very hard for us to, being honest with you, to guarantee that the trees on the lots will be there forever.
Oh, sure.
Each individual has property rights. Nobody wants to, buy a lot where we say you're only allowed to do X. So we've tried to preserve the trees that are in natural places that there's no incentive to take them down, that they're in steep areas that have other township protections. So that hopefully the areas we've put on there are ones that make sense both now when the house is constructed and as people move in and want to live there. So that's the plan. It's not the same, the same guarantee we can provide in the open space where we can have a regimented and written down and funded restoration and maintenance routine.
So the open space preservation is in lieu of basically having a tree replacement formula for the constructed properties?
Yes.
And with respect to the open space, are you looking to put a conservation easement over that, or how will those lands be protected? It's my experience that oftentimes, even though those kinds of areas are turned over to homeowners associations, that doesn't hold up in perpetuity, and without having some level of protection over that, they can be developed in the future by those homeowners associations. So I don't know if the township was planning to put any kind of restrictions on that, or if that was going to be built in, or if there was a conservation easement that might be overlaid on those space. And I don't know, maybe Andy, you can better answer that question.
This might be a question for Steve. Steve, would this be similar to Lissitor, where I go out every year and do the open space review and?
Yeah, I think it depends on how we build I think there's a woodlands plan that's a part of this project, if I recall. And how we build that woodlands plan and do that, I think could very well put that protection in place. And I think that you could get the developer to agree that these lots would not be buildable in the future, even if the HOA maintains them, because we've done that in other locations where we've said the lot is not a buildable lot, even though the HOA has it as green space.
I mean, we're committed to come up with a acceptable, legal and practical means of implementing the plan, funding the plan, and preserving the lots. And I don't know if the solution is, direct township involvement, if the solution is a conservation easement, like you mentioned. But this is not, the intent is that those would be set aside areas. They're not available for building. They don't get a lot number. They won't get the way Delaware County tax assessor does it. When you have open space, it doesn't even get a tax ID number. So there really will be no opportunity for formal development of them. And we really intend that they not be developed, and that not only that the woodland maintenance that we're specifying in the plan be funded with the HOA, and that there be a mechanism to do that. And if that mechanism is to have the township arborist periodically inspect them, I think we're open to anything. I just don't know what that answer is, but it's not meant to be a seat of the pants thing. It's meant to be that we have recorded, funded documents and plans that it's something that the project is legally obligated to do.
Just looking at the one particularly towards the middle, the more rectangular one, I guess, there towards the, center of the diagram and towards the bottom. I'm looking at the wetland space there. I don't know how, I don't even think something could be built on that lot, even and anywhere near our township code, looking at it. And a similar piece, if I'm looking and understanding the wetlands and the riparian buffers, The same thing is true on the lot that's up by Gradyville Road. So I think that there's some natural protections in addition to what we would look at trying to put some belts and suspenders on from the township point of view.
You're totally correct. I mean, Steve, we picked the open space to capture the most important environmental features. And that by putting that and having that be where we manage the woods, we can make the best use of all those things together. But there's no legal way for anyone to, it won't be a buildable lot. There's no way they could meet any township area requirements or grading or any of those things. But we certainly want to do whatever needs to be done from both a practical and legal standpoint, that either they can't, I won't say sneak in, but somebody can't just say, hey, we're gonna put gazebos in and put parking in or do something, kind of under the radar. That's not our plan at all, is to make sure that that doesn't happen, and that we do have a means of making sure that the woodland management, goes on in perpetuity.
Thank you. And I guess just one more question, does your, and I apologize, I just kind of saw this yesterday and I didn't really have a chance to really dig into it all that well, and maybe it's in here. Did you do an evaluation of like how many trees that are in that 12 acre area that's about to be, that is intended to be cleared? And then did an analysis of where the offset would be, is like, do we know if that's truly like what's in the woodland plan is really going to meet what would have been or exceeds? It may even exceed what the tree replacement would have been. I just didn't know if maybe
No,
that was
that's fine.
presented.
Well, Mike Lamana went out there and he individually surveyed the large trees throughout the site, and we show all those on our plan and note the ones we're keeping and removing. He did some sampling out there after consulting with the township arborist, and we're still kind of working on getting John's feedback on how that sampling is and how that would relate to the entire area.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, the stand density index changes throughout the course of the property. Mike Lamano, who's a great forester, went out and he was finding different variables. Anywhere from, 6 trees per 1/10 of an acre plot, all the way up to 10 trees. So we got to capture some averages, and a lot of those areas, obviously I asked, Mr. Lamana to sample the densest woodland structure, obviously, because we want to capture the highest grade. But a lot of that obviously is intruded upon with invasive structures, ailanthus, a lot of dead ash. So they're captured, they just have to be subtracted out. So that's what they're working on. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, so is some of your, I guess, John, for you, did your recommendation include maybe providing more shade trees and less ornamentals on the, I guess, on route, I guess, I can't read it. Is that Road A, I guess, the main road that's coming in off of Gradyville?
So, my objective on this entire project, Chris, was most certainly looking at the sensitive areas of natural resources, i.e. the riparian buffer, the woodlands, and how we're going to restore those benefits being a unique property. We made some recommendations for some species changes. All the whips that we have spec'd in, or requested, are all shade trees with a little minor understory just to capture that woodland layer. But I believe Neil is putting all shade trees as street trees.
Well,
correct?
they've got a lot of ornamentals, but I will tell you that I think that's a creation of the landscape architects in my office.
Yep.
And I think if the township gave us direction and said we would prefer shade trees, I know one of the comments that we saw in some of the stuff from the township is like, don't use these species, even though they're on a township list. We have no problem replacing the ornamentals with shade trees. And if there's guidance, even if it doesn't match up with the words in the ordinance, because some of that stuff, changes over time. I don't think we have any issue with fitting in as many shade trees as we can, if that's if that's the preference. The gaps, you didn't really ask this. Some of the gaps in the trees along the street, it doesn't show up on this plan, but on our black and white plans, you can see it. We have stormwater management systems in places where we just don't have an opportunity. There's just not enough room. The stormwater's in the side yard or the front yard. And between that and the pipes, there's just not enough room to have the trees, but certainly we could change a lot of the ornamentals, or I'd say all of them, if that's really the direction the township felt was the right thing to do, to shade trees. That was I think an aesthetic and a landscape design choice by the landscape architects, not a, you know, a tree preservation or replacement choice.
Yeah, I think that I think, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for John or for Carol, but I think that would be the Shade Tree Commission's preference, if they agree. I don't mind having a spattering of ornamentals in there. I think that's fine, you know, to have some diversity. But you know, we're losing some habitat value and whatever we can do in order to replace some of that loss would be, I think, preferable, as well as to provide kind of the intent of this commission, which is to, you know, preserve shade trees and manage shade trees. And then, just out of curiosity, is there going to be recreational opportunities within those open spaces? Is there going to be trails or anything like that?
No, they're really just, we're not envisioning any man-made trails or anything. I mean, I don't think there's any vision to restrict people. But as Steve pointed out, there's a lot of wetlands and riparian
Mhm.
areas. And I don't think that would stop us from like wood chip trails or marking a location. But right now, it's really just envisioned as preserving the woodlands and improving it so that it maintains a, you know, both from the environmental benefit and just from the aesthetic benefit of having that nearby.
A place for the deer to live.
Yep.
I have a question. The two properties that are out on the point going off to the right there,
Yes,
how do they get to their houses?
there's it's in black and white, but as I mentioned, the part in Marple's already been developed. If you look
Okay.
at the bottom of the plan, there's a cul-de-sac that exists today.
Oh,
So
all
you see
right.
that black and white, so those two
Yeah.
lots, it's a good question though. What we've labeled as lots 1 and 2 front directly on the street in Marple Township. And so
Okay.
those people really, they're in Newtown, but the street they get on will be in Marple. They'll come down through here, it comes out to Media Line Road and goes out to 252. Lot 3, which is more towards the middle on the bottom, is gonna come out and actually join the end of what's a dead end road that's been constructed for Marple. It says Cherry Blossom at the bottom of the page, right in the middle. So that lot,
Take
the
your
same
word for
thing,
it.
those people will come out and they'll go down the page into Marple. Everybody else will get onto one of the 2 cul-de-sacs and come up into Gradyville. But those 3 lots, those people actually go towards Marple Township.
Excellent.
The connection here, again, is an emergency access road. So we have to work out with the fire marshal, whether it's gated, has bollards or something. But it certainly will be open for pedestrian access, so people will be able to walk between the 2, but there will not be regular vehicular access that
Cool.
way. I missed explaining that. Sorry
That's
about that.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was
Okay.
very easy to read.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of this. The color is just, the line works the same as what's on our real plan,
Mhm.
but it's try to put one thing together. Because if I start pulling up real plan sheets and we look at black and white things in the meeting, it's very hard to verbally describe where you are and to make much sense of it.
Trish, I believe we have public comment regarding this application.
And
Okay.
Neil, if I could make Neil, this Steve, if I could make one suggestion, I love the color. I have a couple colorblind people who will be looking at this, so if there can be a way to do with hash marks or something to allow them to see the differentiation in those areas, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I did remember that from before, so we tried to keep the tree lines dark enough so that I could refer to just by the tree lines and not necessarily the different
Yeah.
green tones. Thank you, though.
Thank you very much. That was really fantastic. So do we want to go ahead and open for public comment right now?
For this application, yes, please.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Francie Strathman on Gradyville Road. First of all, it's sort of hard. We just got these materials today, the public. And so to come up with comments, you'll see that they're very scratched because it's hard to come up last minute. I do have to say that there are a number of us on Gradyville that are having a hard time trusting this development and plans, having watched the Marple side happen and talking to homeowners over there about the clear cutting and what they were promised and what didn't happen. I also wonder about if getting a copy of the Lamana Forestry assessment, if that's something that the public can see, because I think it mentions 90% of dead or hazardous or poor condition trees. And as you know, it's good to have a combination of dead and good and bad trees in a forest. So it shouldn't be just that we take them down. Right. And also a question about the heritage trees that look at, I think on one of the plans said about 23 were going to be taken down and 7 or 8 saved. So would love to know more about that. Also, does the developer replace trees and plants after a 2-year survival, or is that on the homeowner? Or so this could all just go out the window if there isn't some kind of
That's a great
management-
question. That's a great
management
question.
plan.
So, and if I can answer it for you, 'cause
Sure.
that's very important. So, the developer is held to an 18-month window for landscape plants. However, for the forestry whips, we are gonna put some sort of restriction that they have to be maintained for perpetuity, as they were talking about earlier. So as trees die, whips, they want to be replaced by the HOA.
Because certainly 18 months in this new climate we have,
Absolutely.
you could have it alive for 9 and dead in the next 9 if somebody's not paying attention and taking care of them. And then that comes back to the who's in charge of this, an HOA, but who's going to make sure it happens? Is this something like your plan over a listener? And how do you do that? Also a quick, sorry, I'm just kind of going over my page. As I say, the clear cutting is scary because you say the trees will remain or will plant new ones. So that to me says, well, you just said that you could go in and clear cut if you decide. So that language makes me nervous. And then a comment just about because you use that language if they could remain or we'd plant new. So
there's multiple things going on and maybe I lumped them together and wasn't clear. So the individual street trees that we're showing, which now after feedback, we'll have a lot more shade trees. Those are the ones that get the typical owner developer guarantee of the 18 months from the end of the project when it's accepted. The woodland areas on the 2 open space parcels, we have a management plan that's planting thousands of tree whips. No, I understand that. I was just trying to separate the different things. Give me a second. Hopefully I can get there. Those have that management plan. And then for years, those are going to be inspected and maintained. The idea is not that every whip lives because you plant them close together, but if there are areas that die or things, they'll be maintained, they'll keep control of the invasives. On each individual lot, the area you see is our limit of disturbance that we're allowed to grade and do something with. So that is the area we need to do the grading. That's the area we need to build the houses that the developer has. The thing that we don't have control over is when somebody buys the lot and owns it and going forward. But these are the envelopes of what is needed to build the house and where we can do our grading and what our limit of disturbance will be. We will have a plan that will be a version of this and a version of the final plan that we go to get an NPDES stormwater permit where we have an outlined limit of disturbance, and we cannot change that without going back to the conservation district and to the township and saying, we want to change what the area of disturbance is. And so I think that's where, the places where I say we removed them and planted them, after some feedback from John and his reviews, we, some areas where we have to remove trees and do grading, that we said, look, we can plant them back. So this thing in the middle of the project, at the bottom of lot 6, where it says zone R, which is, just the zoning, the note. That area gets cleared and graded because we can't facilitate getting to this lot without that. But it's an area that we are showing on the
What about
plan
microphone?
that we will plant new tree whips.
Get him a handheld, please.
That we will plant new tree whips in, and it'll be that way. What that area does not get, to be honest, it doesn't get the years of future inspections and maintenance that the open space parcels will get. That's the difference. And if I spoke it a different way, I'm sorry,
Back up with your question.
Neil, I'm going to suggest you go ahead and hold on to that mic for a minute and let Francine go ahead and finish making her comments. And if you need to answer, then you can just use that mic.
I'll just be quick. I also just want to make the comment that on all the plans, and we've been poring over them the last 2 days that we finally got everything. There's so much stormwater and management needed, and all this underground piping and stuff, and water basins and all amount of water thing. It just speaks to us about how inconducive this land is to development, that they have to do all of that work and disturb all the, not only the trees, but underground. And so so that's just one comment. And certainly I think Aqua hopefully is involved in this somewhere along the line. But I think I'll stop there because otherwise I'll go into the weeds.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight and providing your comment. We really appreciate it. Rob, Carol, do you have any other
Just real quick, I
comments?
think the applicant, the owner wants to say a few
Oh,
words.
I'm sorry.
Yep,
It's hard to see.
no, absolutely.
Hi,
Thank you.
my name's Nicole Robinson, and I just wanted to say, and hopefully put people's mind at ease, that yes, this project, but a much larger project, was here years ago. But for the last 2 years, we have worked with professionals to come up with a plan that we hoped would be received well, because we are sensitive. We are sensitive to the community. We're part of the community. We understand that people that live in these homes now, stuff had to happen for them to live there. But we are very sensitive. We've done a lot of research. We care. That is what I really want to have noted, that I make myself fully accessible to anybody that wants to ask any questions. And we're amenable to make changes that would benefit the community to the best of our ability. And I just wanted to say regarding Marple, there are currently 35 homes. That was not a clear-cut job. And I will tell you that I'm interested, I really would love to learn from you, Francie, about who you felt like, or where you felt the houses were maybe not up to par, the properties, because I'm very proud of that project. And I feel like there are wonderful people living there. The homes are wonderful. We've done our very best. So I just want you to know that we care. And I guess in a long way, I just wanted to say that. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for providing that. I think we all recognize that, the property owners have a right to develop their property. And we understand that, to do so in wooded areas, you have to take down trees. I think that what I was hearing is that maybe if there's an opportunity to further reduce clearing 12 acres, and maybe that's kind of what I was hearing from the public comment. So I appreciate your coming up and speaking, both of you, and do appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, John, that zone 5 he was talking about. How, it's on. That zone 5 he was talking about, how wooded is that?
There's a
Is
lot.
is it something that he said WIP's putting back in there because they have to have access? I understand that. and
That's
everything.
correct.
Could some shade trees go in that along with, or
It's a lot of invasives and there's a lot of management needs to be done. And that area has a very degrading woodland edge. So I'm trying to build up that edge line. That's what I requested of their forester to try to add more supple plants to shade out the invasives.
so a few bigger trees in there won't
Yeah.
make a difference?
Wouldn't make a difference.
All right.
Carol, do you have any thoughts?
No, it's good. Isn't it clear so far?
Okay. All right. Oops. I lost my agenda.
Up to 9, new business.
New business. All right, hold on. Well, can you go ahead and read that off while I refine my agenda?
9.1 is discussion and possible action regarding publicity, promotion, and or advertising.
Do we have to take action on that or anything, Steve?
So it's going before the planning commission tonight. So if you wish to send some message to the planning commission tonight, yes, you would need to take an action if you feel like the information that you have and the work that's been done by the arborist is sufficient to go before the planning commission. I doubt that it's going to be passed to go onto the board at the end of the evening, just because I know there's a fair number of comments that the engineer has made related to this project. So, I mean, maybe it will. I don't know how the applicant is ready to respond to all the engineering comments. So I suspect that it's going to be before planning commission both this month and next. And if that's the case, then you would have an opportunity to make a more formal decision at the next meeting. But if you wanted to send some message tonight to the planning commission, yes, you would need to take an action tonight.
All right. Hey, John.
Did you want to make a motion, Rob?
Pretty good with this? I mean, the plan that's in front of us. I mean, I'm taking your recommendation. I mean,
I'm good with the plan. As long as I see, first of all, the forest management plan, I really like. My ideal plan of any development is preservation. You know, any developer can go in and plant 1 million new trees. You're never gonna gain that canopy structure, that diversity, that woodland effect or wildlife habitat. Restoring and repairing buffers is dear to my heart, so, making sure those natural resources are protected is a big plus. As long as the woodland management plan is gonna be followed by the recommendations we provided, and that there is a maintenance agreement with the HOA, I'm content.
The one thing that if we could maybe use less of the ornamentals along the roads, I think that would be the only thing that I would want to add, but I don't, it sounded like that the applicant was amenable to that, so I don't know if we need to take any kind of formal action on that, or if,
You'll
John,
make-
you could include that in your recommendation.
Yeah, and Neil, you'll get us a plan.
We will, I mean, I heard that was one of the definitive things, that we will replace a lot of those ornamentals along the street with shade trees. And regardless of, I mean, I think Steve is correct, but regardless of what action or if any actions taken by the planning commission or not tonight, we have to revise plans before are going to get preliminary approval. And so as part of that, we will change it. We'll have a revised landscape plan that will come back that, John can see again and the Shade Tree Commission can see as well.
Thank you. And this is the only phase? Is it just this phase, or is there another phase? Sorry.
The applicant owns other land adjacent to this, but to be honest, as I said, we've spent decades figuring out how to do the right thing with zoning that works for the product, the developer, the steep and wooded area of the lot. So we do not know what's going to happen with the rest of the property. We just don't have a plan, and there's not going to be a plan that shows up like next month. I'm not, at some point they will probably come up with something they think makes sense there, but we do not have another definitive thing at this time.
Thank you. I apologize for the million questions.
That's your job to ask those questions, my friend.
Do you want to take action on this, Trish?
I don't think so. I think John's going to be able to capture it in his report. I don't think we need to unless you want to. If you want to make a motion.
Well, just so it goes, I mean, I would like to make a motion. I don't even know how to do this, really.
Yes, you do.
Make a motion to like approve this plan per, the township arborist.
Be preliminary approval.
The preliminary agreement with the, like the urban forester and everything. I don't even know.
And also the placement of ornamental.
With shade trees, and then also,
Preservation plans, those areas to be served by the applicant and also the HOA. We're gonna have to read it all now.
you get Miss Carol.
As she says, I'm gonna need the cliff notes.
All future plans receive positive recommendation.
Correct.
Yes.
Bring also Tristan, stuff that we treat.
Yes. And what did you say about Trish, about I know Steve says that probably nothing could ever be built on like that area that's the open space. What,
So I had just asked if there was going to be some sort of overlay of a conservation easement. I am concerned that there may not be protections in perpetuity if there isn't something kind of more reflected either on the somehow. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not quite ready to vote one way or another on this. I'd really like to see the revised plans as they come in. So even if we do move forward, I really appreciate what it is, and I think they've made a really great effort. I'd just like to see before we make a recommendation one way or the other. I'd like to kind of see the revised plan. At least that's my preference at this point.
You did say that you'd be coming back with another plan for like next month.
Yes, correct. I mean,
Okay.
I can't tell you the step before everyone, but I'm absolutely certain, even if we were be able to convince the planning commission to take action, which I don't know is likely, that the plan is not ready to go to the board for preliminary subdivision and land development approval. We would have to submit a revision. We have lots of things to at least provide other information to comments that Andy made, that Eric Johnson, the township engineer, made. We have a few comments from John that he wanted to see. We have to replace those ornamentals with shade trees. So there will be another version of the plan
And
that
make
gets
sure- and
submitted.
Make sure the colorblind people can see the colors. Got it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think, Trish, I think we can wait for next month for a motion on this.
yeah, if we could, I would really appreciate that, and let me have another opportunity, since we did just kind of get this information. I'd really like to dig into it and read it, and I'd like to hear what happens at the planning commission meeting tonight. And I haven't had a chance to really coordinate with anyone else, so I just don't feel, I think, I think from what I saw so far, I'm very encouraged you know, in full disclosure, I live on Gradyville Road as well. I do like what I see so far, but I would like just to hold off at least on my vote to move forward till we saw a revised plan, if that's okay.
I mean, that's fine with us. We're not,
All right.
you're
I
not,
mean,
you're
that's-
not
that's
handicapping
fine.
us.
If
We're gonna
Okay.
have a
what Trish feels,
revised
she
set of
wants to
plans.
review it another month, that's fine. with me.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't want to hold you up from going like planning or whatever like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, we don't really have too much of a dog in the fight too much anyway, so we wouldn't be doing that. But I appreciate that, Rob, and I feel the
Okay.
same way. We certainly don't want to hold up anything from moving forward.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we've agreed that we're not going to take action at this time.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so are we ready to move on to new business? And thank you again for coming. This is a really great, helpful presentation. Really appreciate it. And also thank you, Francie, for coming and providing your comments as well. We appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so new business discussion and possible action regarding publicity and promotion and or advertising. Was that Carol, did we refresh my memory? Was that something that I forgot who brought that up, actually?
I don't know quite what prompted that, but it might be, it might have something to do with, well, there's a lot of things that cross over here. It might have something to do with this past Arbor Day, just the fact of trying to get publicity out on various,
Oh, right.
because apparently there was, for some reason, there was no publicity at all about our Arbor Day planting.
Well, that was partially our fault.
But we have to fix it so it doesn't happen again next year.
Sure. So is
Because
Steve
we
still
had-
there?
we had No
Is
public.
Yeah,
Nobody showed up for the.
I'm still here.
Hey, Steve, is there any movement on trying to get a replacement for John Rice? And if there hasn't been, would there be a way that we could maybe look at some of the skills that we're looking for? Because we really need someone who's a maybe like has experience volunteer coordinating, doing this kind of like our publicity and our help with doing outreach. We need a lot of help with outreach. And I just wasn't sure if how the members because I know that there's different criteria that there are for each of the members of the Shade Tree Commission, and I didn't know if there was room to maybe expand the requirements or the skill set kind of that we're looking for to include outreach.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that that's a request that you could put to the board
Okay,
as they look at, the board is the responsible party for appointing any members to any committees.
okay.
And at this point, I don't think they've had anybody come forward who they were willing to appoint to the committee. So, that would be, I think that's a fair request on your part back to them and just saying if when you're appointing, could that be a criteria that's a part of the decision?
Thank you. And then is Leonard still our liaison, or is there another board member
don't-
that?
I would have to look I don't know that I remember right off the top of my head. But if you give me a minute, I might be able to figure it out.
I think it's Leonard. Because I really do think, Steve, that's one of our problems is that we really are lacking that skill set yeah, on our committee.
If you want to continue on your agenda, I'll look it up and then I can let you.
Okay.
know.
Perfect. Sounds great. Yeah, to be honest with you, so with respect to this item, I think one of the solutions, because you're right, that's something that I feel like we dropped the ball on or I'll take ownership for it. I know that we were looking at this one as this was going to be a small planting. We kind of felt like we could handle a lot of it ourselves, but as we're doing, especially for the fall, we've really been uh, really lucky to have the EAC really help us out with garnering the volunteers and doing a lot of that and using their connections in order to get the word out. And we just don't have that kind of deep-seated place in the community as our commission, as the EAC. And so if we because maybe we need to think about how can we better leverage information and volunteers. I know we had brought it up kind of at the committee meeting of maybe having a centralized volunteer pool um, at the township level to help out with all of the different committees and commissions activities. And I don't know where that kind of sat. I know some people were a little protective of their volunteers and not wanting to share, which I totally get. Certainly we don't want to ride the coattails of other people's hard work, but also it's kind of hard for us to, at least I'm finding it really hard to get that footing just because I just don't have the kind of history in the township. So I guess maybe that's like another, I guess a question, Rob. I mean, has that come up in the committee meetings? I haven't been able to attend because of work.
It did come up again. I don't think anybody's been willing to take the lead on that. So it hasn't really gone anywhere.
Okay. Um, I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts?
Just a quick note, there's another meeting coming here at 7 o'clock in the
Oh, cannoli. Okay, let's move it along then. Okay. How about if we postpone this?
I would make real quick note. You asked me who your
Yeah.
liaison is. It's Mike Russo.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So do we want to go ahead and table these things for next week and let's get out of here? I need to get home. I need to leave here anyway and start my drive back home. So I'm sort of in a hurry to get out of here too.
I
Do
don't-
we just
I don't-
want to,
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't table the rest of these.
okay, can we
The only
just,
real quick question that I would have for you related to your fall planning. Or I just want to confirm your location. Are you wanting to continue on the rest of Ashley? Is your plan? And then if you exceed the number of trees versus the demand for trees, do you know where your next area is? And I just want to make sure that we're not, depending on when you're doing this planting, if township staff needs to be doing something to support you, we're short right now, a person, we're gonna get a replacement here soon. But it's gonna take us a while to get that person up and ready to go. So I just want to make sure that if something's needed from support wise, last year, Mara did a fair amount of work on this. And right now, I don't know that Mara could give any time, so I don't want to get in a position where we're down to the last minute and everybody was hoping that the township staff would cover something and we're not. So that's the only thing that I have on here, that if you could just give me at least some direction of if you're hoping a certain number of trees, or if there's something that you need from me to make sure that you know what that is so we can move forward.
I think one of the things is, with the fall tree planting, we're probably gonna do.
Money.
No, well, we already have that. I
do?
think
How
we,
much money do we have? That's what.
Oh,
What's the budget?
I want to say it's, what was it last year, 10? I think it's 7 or 8,000. I think is what what the budget was. I'll have to confirm that.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you could.
because we would have a, first come, first serve as far as the trees go. Plus, we have not had a chance to sit down with the MS4 map and figure out where else we could go. So we're gonna go back to the area that we were last year.
Okay.
We're gonna continue along there.
Yeah, and then we will pick if I'm remembering the map right, isn't there an area close to Ashley that's part of the EMS4, Steve?
I think it depends on what side of the street you're on. Certain things were and certain things weren't. Like even on Ashley, the
I'm sure
one side of
Shailen
the
is.
street was and one side of the street was not. But that's okay. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't offer it to those who aren't. I'm just saying,
Mhm.
and we can look at what comes off of that. If somebody wants to take the lead and come in and meet with me at the township building, I will happily walk through the MS4 map with you and talk about possible locations.
Okay. All right, thanks for that offer, Steve. And I think with respect to your question of staff time, so I think last time what happened was that there was a request to send out letters, and then there was a lot of the collating of I guess the postcards that had gone out and things like that. So do you have a better suggestion on a better way that we can do outreach to the property owners and to get a feel for who's interested in the trees and collecting them and doing that type of activity? Do you have other ideas?
I really don't know the better way. I mean, we do have some forms on the website that we can use that would potentially be a way to pull it in pretty easily. But I mean, short of sending a letter, I'm not sure how we get people's attention that they have an opportunity. So, and I'm not saying we can't do it with township staff. I just don't want to wait till the last minute with knowing that we're shorthanded, or that even if we're back up to full staff, which I anticipate that we will be in that area, it's still going to be somebody. I mean, just in case you don't know, Heather has left and has taken another job, and we're happy for her. And we have a replacement. The board, voted on the replacement on Monday night. But that being said, I typically think it takes a year before somebody is even beginning to get their hands around all the things. So
Sure.
Our staff is going to be relatively green in trying to do all of this and do all the things that they're responsible for. So that's my concern. So I just want to make sure if we know what we want to do and we can just take this letters from last year and have a new date put in and those kind of things, that's pretty easy. If we are rewriting or redoing, then we need to know what that is ahead of time.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we can just kind of use last year's as templates and go from there. And I think what we'll need to do, so Carol, I'm going to ask you, I hate to do this, but to voluntold you, but can you work with Sheila
Sure.
and get those conversations started with the EAC? And hopefully they're going to be willing to collaborate with us again. I know that Sheila was a little, may not be as willing to take quite the point that she did last year, but it's kind of easier for her because it's our neighbors. So I don't know, maybe if you could work that out with her, and considering that,
No problem. Consider it done.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, look, I know everybody needs some time before the next meeting starts, so why don't we go ahead and table the rest of the agenda to old business and we'll talk about it in July.
Got it.
Okay,
Consider it done.
and we've already had public comment, so if we want to go ahead and adjourn,